We will get you in if, in fact, you want to go ahead and share during this session right here. I don't know if we're live on Facebook because we ran a little bit over, but we are just going to jump all the way into it. You can go ahead for all of my Clubhouse users, hit the link that's right at the top, and you can see myself and my amazing guest, Lola Troy, who is not only on the stage in Clubhouse in that bright yellow, but she is right here with me this morning. Hey, everybody, it is 7:30 a.m. and I am Lolita E. Walker. I am a certified life, leadership, and executive coach. I am a speaker. I am all of the things, but really it is about pulling all of the greatness out of you. And inside of this half an hour right here on Breakfast with Champions, this is where we meet. Coaching, cocktails, and conversations with Lolita E. Walker. Yes, come on inside of the room. Let me know that you are here. I see Lynn Luckett from the Facebook group. She is saying, great day, Lolita E. Walker and Lola Troy. I'm so excited because what we are talking about today, if you think about it, is these minor adjustments that lead you to greatness. All morning long, we've been talking about these minor adjustments that lead you to greatness. And today's adjustment is all about healing. Today, I'm bringing Lola Troy in to talk about our healing journey. This week, if you follow me on any other platform, you know I've been talking about getting out of your own way, getting out of your own way. What are the ways that we can do this? And today, the way that we're going to talk about doing this is going on your healing journey. So, hey, Lola, how are you this morning?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be here. So stoked to be here with you guys.
She is a Clubhouse newbie, but we want to say hey to Facebook. We want to say hey to LinkedIn, and we want to say hey to YouTubers who are here. And I'm so excited. So I want to just get started, you all who are listening in today. And you know that when I speak, I really want you to take some tangibles today. So we are going to leave you with what I am calling your healing journey and why it's important to heal. But first, I want Lola to tell us, you know, she's the founder of Heal Black Joy. And so, Lola, tell us about the name. How did you come up with that?
Oh, that is such a wonderful question. Heal Black Joy stemmed from our pain, honestly. 2020, we had so many things going on. COVID was going on. Then we experienced the murder of George Floyd. And because I am a content creator, I decided that I wanted to not polarize our pain anymore. I wanted to be an integral part in polarizing our joy. And so I just started by creating content and curating content that spoke to our joy and got away from that pain.
I love that. You know, I asked Lola to come on today, specifically in Breakfast with Champions, because as we talk about this minor adjustment and this tweak, sometimes it's about sitting, what I always say, in the power of your pause. Sometimes it's about sitting in the power of your pause and what is that journey that we're going to take to heal. You know, I consulted with my best friend Google this morning, and what Google said is that healing is the process of making or becoming sound or healthy
Mm,
again. Come on
yeah,
now, 2022. Healing is about making you more sound and you walking, talking, and believing in what it is that you're doing. It's about coming together and becoming healthy again. So today is all about becoming healthy. I love that Lynn Luckett said, yes, let's normalize the good moments, the happy
yeah,
moments.
yeah.
Now, when
I
I
like
went on your website, okay, when I went on your website, it said, for me, your healing is personal. After struggling to feel any joy or happiness in my life, I finally decided to do something about it. What started as a quest to conquer my own traumas and pain has turned into a curated and passionate system that has helped hundreds of people, beautiful people, step into the reality of who they really are and how they confidently show up in their lives.
yeah.
I love for you to talk to me about, you know, what is something that came into your life what was the moment when you said now is the time to begin becoming healthy again?
Well, for those of us that are parents, it's always, your kids are your biggest reflection. They show up and put a mirror right in front of you. And my daughter was that for me. My daughter in middle school at the time, I had gone through a divorce. I was what I call an angry Black woman. And I was showing up in spaces as an angry person. And that wasn't serving me. It wasn't serving the people around me. And it definitely wasn't serving my beautiful daughter that I wanted to live in a full, expressive, beautiful, joyous, and happy life. And now it was the time that I had to show up. I didn't do it for me. I did it for her. As parents, we will self-sacrifice all the time. And I was like, she deserves a better version of me. And that's why
Oh.
I did it. That's exactly why I pulled the trigger on my healing journey.
You know what? That's so interesting because um on this audio app where we are on Clubhouse, and likewise for people that's pouring in, Dr. Jeannie said now is the time. Now is
Yes.
the time to begin to heal. Lynn Luckett also said pain pays, right? Reality is that's why the media consistently choke us daily with this pain. When you turn on a TV, it's always pain, 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 and that is what
Yeah.
pays. But inside of this app, it's all about, especially inside of this room on this platform. This is going out to Breakfast with Champions podcast, as well as Coaching Cocktails and Conversations podcast. And it is about exactly what Dr. Jeannie is saying, liking the better version of me to show all the way up. It
Yeah.
is about healing so that now, as we walk into this world, we're giving the best of us. And this morning, I really thought about, the showers where I get my creative energies. Where are you when you? I like, yes.
That's funny. I'm in the shower, I'm in the car.
Yes. So today I wrote this, and it's about heal, HEAL. And some people might say, well, why? Why are we talking about this? Why should this be a minor adjustment that we're making? And I wrote, happiness is a priority. Experiencing life is a necessity. Adding to the collective is an expectancy. And then loving you first begins right now. Now I'm going to say that again, and I want you to think about, I'd love for you to think about like which one of these really relate to your story and share it, because there are 212 folks that's listening just on the audio app. There are a number of people who are listening to the replay and going to hear this. This is evergreen. And so we want to make sure that when people are listening in, they're feeling the power of what it is that we're talking about right now. So happiness is a priority. What if we put happiness first? Experiencing life is a necessity. And it's my firm belief that when we think about that, when we put that at the forefront, that experiencing life is a priority, then it shakes all distractions out of our way.
Yeah.
True story, really quickly, is I was driving from Philly last weekend. True story. I was driving from Philly last weekend, and on my way down this stretch, 3 accidents I saw. The first accident, there was a man who was deceased in the middle of the road.
Mm,
And all I could think to myself is when he left the house, nobody knew he wasn't coming back.
right.
What if we lived every day where we were experiencing life?
Mm,
And that healing journey is so amazing. It'll come with tears and all of the things, but it's so amazing. The third accident that I saw, you couldn't even recognize the motorcycle. It was in flames. And all I could think to myself is, how dare us allow life to grab us and we haven't left an imprint right here? What will people say when you're no longer here? The A is about adding to the collective, because it is an expectancy. It is an expectancy that you show up in this life and you help, you serve. It's an expectancy of life that you're living this thing called life. And
yeah.
then loving you first begins right now in this
Mm.
very moment. So tell me what you are thinking from any of those.
That's powerful. I think for me that loving me first is going to be the thing that sticks out to me. And I say that because when you get on a plane, I travel a lot in my work, and when you get on the plane, they come on the system and they say you want to put your mask on first before if you have a child, before you put on the mask of the child. In order to do that, you have to heal yourself before you can actually show up in the world, before you can experience that happiness that you're speaking of. In order for you to become what I call self-full, you have the acknowledgement that you are an integral part of your healing journey. You've got, in order to get out of your own way, you got to acknowledge, like, I am an active participant in why I'm in my own way. Acknowledgement is first. And you got to become fully present with yourself. A lot of people are not even self-aware. They don't even know that they need to be on a healing journey. We talk about this healing journey like, everybody's on it. Everybody is not on a healing journey right now. Everybody's not on that growth path right now. And we've got to become fully present with ourselves and become self-full and realize that it's vitally important to start that healing journey so that you can show up in the world in happiness and experience life in all of its fullness and then by adding to the collective that you're speaking of.
Oh, so freaking good. Dr. Jeannie said right here, live every day as experiencing life, living this thing called life. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love, here's the thing. I love that you said everybody's not on a healing journey, right? So there's somebody that's listening in right now and they're like, I don't feel like I'm healing at all. I'm thinking about the
Mhm.
sore and putting on the ointment. And I have a podcast. I forget the which name that I have of it for coaching cocktails and conversation, but it talks about a sore in life and
Mhm.
how we mend our sores and put band-aids on it and we continue to nourish it until it completely heals. And I love that you really talked about this pause and leaning into that time. So let's talk about tangibles of how people can begin their healing journey. I love that you said first is self-awareness.
Oh,
Keep
self
going.
awareness is key. Acknowledgement is the first thing. The second thing I would always think about when you're on that healing journey, besides acknowledgement, is calibrating. You were just talking about someone who likes to go to the negative thought first, right? I'm a big fan of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he says that thoughts are the language of the brain, and feelings are the language of the body, right? So what happens is we get into a default setting where we go right back to what's comfortable. We go right back to that fear. We go right back to the negative. And so instead of calibrating to the positive thing to find those pockets of joy every single day, what we do is we go back to the default setting. And that's,
Mhm.
I'm going to think about everything that is negative in my life. And then you add to that thought. And what happens is your brain starts signaling your body, and then your body starts feeling everything that was negative from your past. And it's called a familiar past. And when you're in alignment with that, it's very easy to get caught and get stuck into that loop of negativity. But what you have to do is three, you have to curate a space for yourself. You have to acknowledge that you are in a space of, I'm starting this healing journey. Two, you got to calibrate yourself to the pockets of joy in your life. What is showing up in your life that's positive? Get up in the morning. Get up in the morning and start your meditation, start your prayer, whatever that is, getting very present with yourself. A lot of people are not present, Lolita.
Mhm.
A lot of people are merely existing out here. They're going into this routine. How many times do we get in our cars and we drive down the road and we don't even recognize the trees that are
Yeah.
around us? We don't recognize the cars that are around us. But we just, we get into this mode of we're listening to our favorite radio station or we're listening to a podcast or something, and somehow we've missed 3 or 4 exits
Mhm.
because we've gotten into this default setting of doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. But what you have to do is you've got to curate a space of joy. And when I say that, I'm talking about those nouns, people, places, and things. You got to curate a space where not only are you fully present with yourself, but you're fully present with everybody around you. You got to create those pockets of joy with everybody around you. We start to generate those feelings, um, from our past, and then we attract other things that make us feel and that are in alignment with that negative thought. So when I'm talking about curating the space, detox yourself from people that are negative.
Yes, yes,
Detox
yes.
yourself from things that bring up negative thoughts for you.
Mhm.
Sometimes you got to detox yourself.
Come on.
You know what I mean? You got to detox your thoughts. You got to detox your thoughts. And then when you start curating that pocket of joy, then you start aligning and attracting things and people and places and opportunities that show up that will remind you that there is something better. Then you start reaching for getting out of your own way. You start
Yes,
reaching for the manifestation of the things that you want to see in your world, in your life. That's
I
when you really
love
show
that.
up for yourself.
Ooh, I love that. And you know what? You talked so many things. There's someone inside the group that said, I try, can't seem to understand. I'm hoping that as Lola kept talking, as we keep talking about ways you're taking these, because she just listed about 10 different ways of how you can get started on what we're saying is a healing journey. Dr. Jeannie said so much brilliance on regular living in this segment. Yes, just regular living and things you can do today. I love that Linnell said, curate a space of joy. detox the negative influences, which then leads me to talk about what I've never ever heard anybody else say it. I talk about this notion of negative nouns. And this is the first time I've heard somebody say negativity and then nouns in the same sentence, especially around healing. So, yes, high five and thinking together. I talk to folks, my clients and in organizations about these negative nouns, like you said, these people, places, and things, and what is not on your I have a poem, Dear Limiting Beliefs, and it's talking
Mm,
about what's not on your spiritual highway. Like,
yeah.
what's not on your highway of life? What is not pouring into you? We're talking about healing. We're talking about happiness is a priority. Okay. We're talking about experiencing life is a necessity. Right
Yeah.
now, experiencing life, take the weight off your shoulders. We're talking about adding to the collective, you being a productive citizen to society and you being productive to yourself. We're talking about loving you first. And Lola just went down probably about 10 different things that you can do. And I want to just lean into Lynn Luckett said, Tim McGraw sings this song called Live Like You Are Dying. Come on now. He said that when he found out that he was dying, that he finally gave forgiveness that he had been denying. Forgiveness. Oh, forgiveness is the key to healing, self forgiveness, and then forgiving others.
Yeah.
We have about 10 more minutes in this segment. I definitely want to open it up, but I'd love if you can talk about this notion of forgiveness and how have you personally had to forgive in order to continue on your healing journey?
I have a wonderful story about forgiveness. I myself and my ex-husband, we did not do marriage and divorce right. Some people can fail at marriage but amicably divorce. We failed at both. We failed at both. We did not show up in our space of trying to consciously uncouple. We were trying to tear each other down. And the only thing that we had to split at that time was our daughter, right? And I'm not proud of those moments. However, as of recently, my ex husband just turned 50, and I'm embarking on, in a couple of months, I'll be turning 50. My girlfriend called me and she was talking about my daughter, and she was just like, oh, Lauren is doing this and doing well and blah, 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 blah. And in a moment I said, you know what? I need to call her dad. And she was like, you need to call her dad? Because her dad and I don't really talk on a regular basis, right? Because we didn't consciously uncouple. And I said, yeah. And so I decided to call him and apologize to him. And I said, I said, Larry, one thing that I said, we didn't get a lot of things right, but one thing we got right was our daughter. And I want to thank you for allowing me to be a mom, because that journey has grown me tremendously, like exponentially, right? Because being a mother, you become unselfish. You learn how to love outside of yourself. And that particular journey, motherhood, was one of the things that transformed my life.
Mhm.
Right. And
Absolutely.
then I asked him, I said, you know what? Um, I apologize to you for how I showed up in this particular scenario with you. And I want to ask you if you can. And I gave him the space to. I didn't force him to, because that was one of the things that we would go back and forth on. But I asked him, I said, if you can, please don't hold me hostage to the version of me that I was when I was with you.
Hmm.
Don't hold me to, or hold me to hostage to, the anger that you carry, and the unsettledness that you carry when it comes to the thought of me,
Mhm.
because I'm not that person anymore. I want you to relinquish that version of me, because I'm no longer that person anymore. And yeah, for a moment, he had to sit there for about 30 seconds in complete silence, because I disarmed him
Yep.
with forgiveness. Like, I forgive you and I'm asking you to forgive me. And in
Mm.
that moment, after those 30 seconds of him being completely shocked by this moment, he came back, and it was full circle for us, because then he began apologizing to me for some of the things that we experienced during that process of going through our divorce. And I can now say that we're actually, co-parenting very well. We're on a journey of regaining our friendship again. And I think a lot of times when you look back at those moments, when you're looking back at those emotional moments, remember the body holds the language of your feelings and your emotions, right? So your body starts remembering those things, even though you're not there anymore. You got to get out of that hatefulness and that bitterness that you carry, that you harbor inside of your body, and also harboring those thoughts that you have inside of your mind, because it will hold you to that old version of you. I always say, don't hold me to the old me.
Yes,
Don't
yes.
hold me to the old me, because I'm no longer that person anymore. And as one of your listeners says, forgiveness is freeing.
Mm-hmm.
And to be free is that direct channel with the creator that allows you the space to curate those pockets of joy that I was speaking of. That
Mm-hmm.
allows you, that freedom brings on truth. That freedom brings on manifestation. That freedom brings on creativity, things that you want and that you desire that will show up in your life. So forgiveness is a real key component to the healing journey. Not just healing, forgiving yourself, but also forgiving others, because
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't serve you to sit there in that old version of yourself.
Oh, so powerful. So powerful. We are going to continue on post the discussion that we're having here in Clubhouse. But I do want to acknowledge Julius Talley said condemnation injures us and
Mm,
forgiveness is what sets us free. And
yes.
Linnell took the words right out of my mouth when you said, please don't hold me hostage to the version of myself that I was with you. Like, I have grown in the power that is coming out of this conversation. If you all leave with nothing else today, it is that you can choose today to start your healing journey. You can choose today to acknowledge that, guess what? There is a sore on me, in me, that hasn't even begun. And whether it's trauma, whether it's something that happened a long time ago, whether it's something that just happened right now, there is something inside of you. And today we've talked about so many different ways that you can begin this journey. Soul said at one point, we love that person. Find the space to let go and forgive. That's such a huge component. Dr. Jeannie came in and Dr. Jeannie said, what a powerful and transparent story. When we share our stories, when we
Mm,
share our stories, other people can now begin to start their healing journey, because sometimes we don't even know until
mm,
somebody says it out loud and you could feel it. Let me
yeah.
just open it up real quick on Clubhouse. Does anybody have anything you want to say? We only have a couple more minutes before we turn that over. Okay. I've been accused of not leaving enough space and time. I know we've been talking for this entire time, but I just want to read these one more time. And then I'd love for, we do a cocktails piece within coaching, cocktails and conversations, and I bring that over to breakfast with champions, and it is one thing you want to leave the audience with, so you start thinking about that. And I just want to read this one more time. Is your healing journey, why is it so important? Why is it so important for you to recognize that is happiness is a priority, experiencing life is a necessity, adding to the collective is an expectancy, and then loving you first begins right now. So I would just love to give a cheers to every single person that is here under the sound of my voice and knows that you will forward this to, because there's simply power in it. I want to give a cheers to every woman who has chosen to say yes to you and come to my Women's Weekend Renewal Retreat, which is September 15th through the 18th. 4 powerful days of pouring in. If you thought this was good, wait until you get there and you can feel all of
Mhm.
this. If you're on Clubhouse, you can go click directly on the link. You also can have a promo code. I know people like, oh, I want to come. Everybody loves a discount. CCC 1900, CCC 1900 will put you in the building for all of it with an amazing discount code for my friends on Clubhouse. And then if you're in any other spaces, I will add the link, but just head on over to lolitawalker.com. What is this one cheers that you want to leave with our audience, and then tell folks how they can get in touch with you?
Absolutely. One thing that I would leave with your listeners is make sure that you give yourself grace in these moments, because that healing journey is not, I want to quote Nipsey Hussle, the great late Nipsey Hussle, when he says that, the marathon continues. The healing journey is not a sprint, it's a marathon. There are going to be some times where, I say my healing journey is like soul food sometimes, and sometimes it's like war. The healing journey
Mm,
is never about the just the good of it all, right? You've got to acknowledge the full spectrum of your healing journey. That's the good, the bad, and the indifferent. Give
oh,
yourself grace in those moments, because and the healing journey is very singular.
yes.
You better be prepared that everybody is not ready for you to show up in this new, beautiful, healed version of yourself, because that old version of yourself allows them to keep you stuck, and it allows them to just stay familiar with that old version of you, because they're comfortable with that version of you. But when that new version of you shows up, honey,
Come on.
they
And
might not
everybody,
they're
oh,
not
go ahead,
ready
go
for
ahead.
you. They're not ready for you. Okay. They're
They're
not
not
ready
ready.
for you. And so just be
Absolutely.
mindful to give yourself grace and understand that everybody is not ready for the new version of you.
Everybody does not get to be on your train, and some
That's
people
right.
select themselves off. Okay. Listen, as
Absolutely.
we close out right here on Clubhouse, stay tuned if you want to hear a little bit more. But we are so excited to turn it over to the mom link who brings nothing short of power. I want to thank you so much, Lola Troy, for saying yes, owning your yes, and respecting the boundaries of no that you had to put in place to be right here. But it is 8 o'clock a.m. And here's over to the mom link. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Good morning, champions. Thank you for passing the mic over to the Mom Link, Lolita. Always an incredible morning listening in on this here at the Breakfast of Champions, the one and only place you definitely want.
All right. Well, let's keep on going. I'm so excited that we were able to go ahead and join in with our family there, but we are going to continue with the party right here. And I'm so excited. So, for all of you all who have to drop, typically I'm only a half an hour, but we're turning this into a podcast because there was just too much juiciness that was happening right there. And I just want to lean in just a little bit more to dig into some of what we talked about. One of the things as you were talking, Lola, um oh, you said so many things. Forgiveness, right?
Yeah.
Inside of my first book, The Intersection of You and Change, I had these 17 stops of self-discovery. And the way that that book got started was literally I was experiencing so much change in my life.
Hmm.
It just felt like I was overwhelmed and overburdened, and I didn't know what to do. I had recently been divorced. My dad had passed away. My line sister had passed away. I said no to a job. I didn't have money coming in, and I felt like the world was on top of me and I couldn't get up. And literally, I remember um being on the floor in a fetal position,
Mm.
and I've never cried like that before. It actually is bringing up tears welling in my eyes right now. I haven't ever cried like that before, and I remember just crying out to God, and I remember just crying and thinking the world was ending. And in those moments I remember saying thank you for the roof that is over my head, because I don't even know how I'm going to pay for it. And I remember saying thank you for um the tears that are coming out of my eyes because
Mm.
somebody didn't wake up. And I only remember those two. And I'm sure I kept on gifting gratitude to God inside of that moment. But I'll tell you this, I had a God moment. And I don't know if you've ever experienced a God moment, but in this moment, and it's only happened to me one time, and that
Mm.
I experienced this, I felt this, I call it a blanket of calm. And this blanket of calm went over me from the back to the front. And it was scary in a moment, like a split second. I was like, and I just said, I surrender, God, with whatever it is that you want to do with me in this moment. And I remember my tears literally dried up. I can't even make this up. My tears dried up. I stood up. I went downstairs and I wrote what I call the Be Free Creed. And it goes, believe in your strengths and open your mind to now explore. Expect
Mm.
moments to have meaning, which will propel you to soar. Face your fears head on, yet hold them at bay, then release what is not progressing you on today. Experience the unexpected, which you would normally let pass by, and then embrace the renewed you who is now free to fly.
Oh, that's good.
And I did it without any eraser marks, but I share this with you because there's power in expression outside of you. And so I want to ask you, when was the moment that you said, wow, and you were even surprised at what came out of you as part of your healing journey?
Man, there were a couple of moments a few years ago. I have to attribute this moment to my best friend, because your best friend always shows up in those spaces. My best friend actually moved to Atlanta, Georgia from North Carolina when I was going through my divorce, because she didn't want me to be here by myself. And so, because I didn't have family here, I'm from North Carolina, and she came here to kind of help me with this journey, and be a support system with my daughter, because now you're embarking on that single mom journey. And she was my support system. But in those moments, she was like, okay, let's just go out and do things. She was a person that wanted to find pockets of joy all the time. And so we decided to go visit a lady who who in the future became my life coach. But we went to go see her. She was having an event, and we enjoyed it so much. And I, networked with this woman, and she sat me down. Crazy enough, ironically enough, she's from the DMV area. And I think I told you this before. She got all up in my stuff when I had a session with her. And it wasn't until I had my first session with her that I wasn't fully self-aware. I didn't realize that I was showing up as a people pleaser. That was just my norm. I didn't realize that I was showing up, bleeding out into my relationships with my friends, and bleeding out into my work and my career. I didn't realize that I was showing up stuck and angry in most spaces. The only place that I saw it was with my daughter, where my daughter would get a little frustrated with me because I didn't have patience with her. I didn't have time to listen to the things that she was going through, in middle school. That time when kids want to tell you everything that's going on in their life, and you're like, okay, speed up the conversation, right? I wasn't fully present. And in those moments, I realized, like, my coach, she put a real big spotlight on me to say, Lola, you got to show up differently. You got to show up differently. And when I, having those conversations with her and having those sessions with her made me start peeling back those layers of people pleasing, and peeling back those layers of understanding that I don't have to show up in space and be perfect all the time, because I had a perfectionism thing going on that I didn't even realize that I had going on. I wanted to show up perfect, always right, always wanting to be the person who excelled. That stems from childhood, because I grew up, I'm a product of two educators, right? It's you're either a product of educators or a product of preachers, and that will show up in your world, perfectionism. Okay. And it was during that time, those moments where I would be, showing up in person to people like perfect, but I'd go home, Lolita, and I would be crying my eyeballs out because I wasn't happy with me. I wasn't happy with my environment. I wasn't happy with those people, places, and things, those nouns. And I remember crying out to God, like, I even had the audacity, people, we have the audacity sometimes. I had the audacity to ask God, why me? Why am I going through this? Why am I going through this? God was like, why not you? Who are you? You are not above going through things in your life, right? Mm-hmm. We get so absorbed in our own stuff, not realizing there's somebody, your sister, your brother, your coworker, your colleague, that's going through very similar experiences. And we get so self-absorbed, like we're the only person going through it. And why is God punishing us with this experience, right? But those times, Lolita, are the times that build our character. Mm-hmm. Those adverse times are the times that build and expand you, where you have to rise to the occasion. You yourself, you had to rise to the occasion of being better, right? Mm-hmm. Because you had little eyes looking at you. Even when I was tired, I had to rise to the occasion, because guess what? I had a daughter looking at me. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it wasn't even about me. It was simply about her. My healing journey was not even about me to begin with. Mm-hmm. I became aware later on in the journey that it was. But in the beginning, my healing journey was about showing up for my daughter in a better way.
You know what's so interesting? Oh my gosh, I love that. We've had, so many comments about putting down, for instance, this cape of perfection and being this superwoman that we walk into this thing with.
Mm,
And I really think about where this thing came from. But anyway, when we get ourselves right here, I think the notion of I had a email blast that went out one time, and when you go to the optometrist and you put your face in and they start clicking these lenses and saying how can you see differently, it literally, when you choose right now, you could do it, like right now you choose
right.
me, done, press the button, done, that piece
Yeah.
is done. Like
Yeah.
right now you press the button, and now what happens if you will allow, I love that some there was a Facebook user, which I'm imagining, I don't know their name, but I imagine that this is the same person who said, like, I can't seem to understand, is now saying I am getting there, my heart and my mind are opening. And I want to talk to you about the juiciness of that, right?
Mm,
Is the transformation of it all, is listening intently. And I love that because it is your, I talk about AWA, your ability. You already were born with that. But now it's about your willingness, right? To move
mhm.
to action. And
Yeah.
when you are willing to receive, that thing can be 5 minutes, 5 months, or 5 years, right? It is this momentary interruption that is going to really disrupt you. And it becomes about you, about how you want to live intentionally, about how I don't like this unhappiness. I don't like going home and crying. I
Every
don't
day.
like it. Life's supposed to be more than
Then the,
this thing right here. And if it is, I choose me now. And
mm,
it's very difficult to remind folks of that when they're stuck and they don't want to hear. So to whoever the Facebook user is who said it, I want to address you. So put your name in there. But whoever that is that said that now I can open up my mind and my heart and my spirit, kudos to you, because what it is that you are doing is saying that I am allowing the space for myself to press pause, for me to open myself up, become vulnerable.
mhm.
Okay. And then expose all of me so I could become a better me. Come
A
on.
better me. But you know what, Lolita? A lot of us, a lot of women, because we don't understand personal identity, because we have abandoned ourselves, because starting off, we learned that it was okay to abandon ourselves. We've always been in proximity to someone else. We're somebody's daughter, we're somebody's mom, we're somebody's wife, we're somebody's friend, we're somebody's, colleague, we have always been in proximity to somebody else, so we've abandoned ourselves. A lot of times women don't start because they don't even deem themselves worthy of putting themselves first.
Mhm, mhm,
Right? We could do everything for our children. Like I said, my journey wasn't about me starting off. I was
mhm.
abandoning me. Right? It's becoming self-aware that one, we got to start off with who we are. Start off with that personal identity. Start off with, who am I? Not just how I show up in the world, but who am I? We're so quick. If you ask women who they are, the first thing they typically tell you is, "Oh, I'm a mom," or "I, do this in my job, and I show up in the world as this." No, that's a role.
Mhm,
That's not who you are. So when the conversation or the question is asked to me, "Who am I say, "I am a networker. I'm a talker because I love to talk. I got
mhm,
ends in conduct growing up. I'm a person who connects dots. I'm a troubleshooter by nature,
mhm.
right? That doesn't tell you what I do. It tells you who I am, the
Come on.
essence of who I am. You got to first start with who you are. And then when you show up for yourself and you become self-aware and self-full, then you start trying to discover what are your needs and what are your wants.
Hmm. Yes, yes, yes. I love that. Look at this right here. Lynn Lucas said, there is growth in cramped and uncomfortable spaces if you choose to stretch. It is a choice. And I
A
love that you
choice.
said that. It's a
It's
choice.
a choice.
And yeah, go
But
ahead, go ahead.
people don't like to pull the trigger on that choice because they don't even deem themselves worthy of choosing.
Hmm.
We got to start there. We got to deem ourselves worthy of even choosing to stretch, choosing to grow, choosing to live and not just merely exist.
Yes, I want to shout out Sandra Palmer. Yes, is who has been talking about this notion of now I'm starting to open up my mind a little differently. And I take that as a win for today. Okay. Not only a win for today for you, but a win for today for me, because there's power in our voice. And one of the things is for me is to impact people through my words, so that now my words help you to shift into this feeling, right? And I can feel the spirit and the energy that's happening with
Yeah.
Lola
Yeah.
and I right now. Like Lola, some people call me Lola, so funny. Lola and myself right now. And right here, let me just recognize Linnell said there's a difference between who you are and what you
Mm.
do.
Yes.
There
Yeah.
is a difference. And Lynn Luckett said a lot of biblical teachings support the notion of putting self first is selfish. I dismantle that notion.
You
And
have
let
to.
me go ahead. Let me just dismantle that too, because as I was thinking, we have people from the Facebook group here, we have people from LinkedIn here, and we have people from YouTube here. And I want to move that into, I love that you said that, because putting yourself first is not selfish, right? There's this notion that if I get out front, then I'm forgetting about the people behind me. And sometimes putting you first could mean that why does everybody have to be in a line that goes from beginning to end? Why can't it be in a line that now is horizontal and we're all walking this thing called life together? I
Right.
think that the beauty of imagery is to let yourself see that I can create the narrative of what is bringing me happiness, what is bringing me experiencing life, what is bringing me the notion to add to the collective, what is bringing me that notion of loving me first. Because when I show up in
Mm.
all of me, the world is not ready for me, right? When
Mm.
I show up in all of me, imagine the greatness. Then you allow God to truly use you, and
Yeah.
that right there is pure magic. How can people do this in work? Because I know that there's people that's like, okay, I got it for personal, right? If you ask Lolita E. Walker, personal growth equals professional success. So now I want to lean this into what this can look like at work. When you begin to work on you, when you begin to do exactly what Sandra said today, just now, is like my
Mhm.
mind is opening up. When you click those lenses to really think about what is it that I love, what brings me a smile, what is this thing, then guess what? Your employees are going to feel it. You're going to listen now intently because you had a barrier up. Your manager is going to start to see you working more intently. Your results are going to show up, right? Personal growth equals professional success. And that
Yes.
literally, it's power. Go ahead.
It's powerful. It's powerful. I love that personal growth equals professional success, because how you show up with yourself is how you show up in the world, right? If we don't show up for ourselves, if we abandon ourselves and we just start showing up in the world any kind of way, guess what? Now the world is going to start abandoning you, because you don't even show up for yourself.
Hmm.
So it's all about being self-full. We got to start dismantling some of those antiquated constructs that we've learned over our lifetime that tell us that we're supposed to not be selfish, because showing up for yourself is not selfish. It's very much so self-full.
Mm-hmm.
Being full of self means that everything, as Dr. Yanle Van Zant says, everything in the cup is for me, and everything that flows over is for everybody else,
Come
right?
on.
And so when you show up for yourself, self full, then that cup runneth over. And then you go into those spaces of work, into business. Your creativity is on point. Your leadership skills are on point. Your confidence shows up, right? So then people start recognizing your confidence and put you in position to excel in your career.
Yes.
Then you start taking those steps of, you know what? I got an idea. Let me turn this idea into a business.
Mm-hmm.
Let me start getting my plan together, my business plan together. Let me start networking and meeting people, because now you're showing up for you.
Mm-hmm.
You understand that you is the most important thing that you could ever invest in,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You know you.
Yep.
And then when you start showing up in those spaces, guess what? Now those feelings, now those thoughts start aligning with the confidence, aligning with the positive energy, aligning with yourself. And then God starts bringing you opportunities, people, places, and
Come
things
on.
that will align with that new version of you that shows up confident and brave and bold.
Come on now. Ooh, this is so good. Sandra Palmer, you are in the right place today. You know what I'm saying? When you decide these nouns, I'm telling you, I didn't even know anybody else said that because I've been talking about it for so long. It's just such you talk about alignment, you talk about synergy, you talk about God putting you in the right places and spaces because I can feel the energy. And Sandra Palmer says, I've been pretending. Right. This is amazingness on steroids that's coming
Mm,
to you today. And sometimes, you be like in church, like, oh my God, is the pastor talking to me? Yeah, we might actually
yeah,
be talking to
yeah,
you because there's a piece that's on this journey right here that is yours. There's a piece today that is going to spark you, and you're going to realize, you know what? There is a piece for me because sometimes we listen just to listen. Sometimes it's like, oh, let me go support Lolita. Oh, I'm already in here. Let me listen in. No, this is for you.
right,
So when
right.
you're walking this thing called life, do it intentionally. Remember, we talked about this notion of healing. Remember, we talked about this notion of joy, healing Black joy. We talked about this notion of normalizing
Mm,
healing. We talked about knowing the difference in who it is that you are and what it is that you do. The soul work that it's just so much synergy that's happening because part of what you said is I want to show up in who I am, right? Not in what I do. And the beauty of that is that I do this soul work exercise all of the time that has us, what is your strength? And how have you demonstrated that? And when I introduce myself, I say, I am power, I am passion, I am purpose. And
yes,
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 because before you know that I am also a mother, I'm also a podcaster, I'm also a PhD student, I'm also running for office, I'm also all
right,
of the things. I want you to know that I am here, like you said, I am present, like you said, I am right here inside of this space, and you will get all of me because I am choosing that, because I have chosen to heal. So
yeah.
as we close out this time, because I could already see me and you can be talking for a really long time. So what I will say is before we do that, Lynn Luckett said, I believe from a professional lens that when we have individual agency,
Mm,
yes, we can then have collective agency. Yes. And when we have collective agency, collective growth happens. Come on now. What a powerful word.
that's
And
powerful.
what I want to say here is this: everything starts with you. If you can't be selfish, that equals being selfless with you, you might not be here. Think of our society. Think of
Mm,
our society. There's so many pressures. There's so many stresses. There's so many expectations. There's so many things. I gotta make up my whole face before I get on camera. I gotta do this. It's so much going on
yeah.
that when we show up pretending, we have the weight of the world. But what if the weight of the world allowed you not to even want to be here anymore? We need you. Start your healing journey today. And let
Mm.
me turn it over to you for the last word.
I want to talk to the lady that was talking about pretending. My question to
Sandra.
you, my challenge to you is, are you tired? And I'm not saying this to you to shine light on you, but I remember being tired of
Hmm.
pretending.
Hmm.
That God moment that you spoke of, Lolita,
Hmm.
I was tired of showing up pretending. I had to release it because it will beat you down. You
Hmm.
will get to a space that will beat you down and you get so tired. And in order to get out of that tiredness, in order to get out of that space of being stuck, you're going to want better.
Hmm.
You got to make a choice that I want better. Even if you're tired, make a choice. Hit that reset button. You know what? I want to show up full for myself. I want to show up full for my loved ones. I want to show up in spaces full so that I can attract opportunities with people, places, and things that serve me going forward. That's how you want to show up. Hit that reset button. Start over. It's okay. I've done it. Lolita has done it. We can do it.
Guess what? Just do it now. Like, press the
Just
button.
do it. Press the
It's
button.
the choice now. Like, it's
Yeah.
not the how. I think sometimes we just get so stuck in the how am I going to do these things? Well, here's the beauty of it all. If you have been here today, then you have about 50 at this point different ways that you could start today. There's
Yeah.
power in choosing you. There's power in showing up as a collective. There's power in choosing to bring the individual to the table. And when you do that, when you intentionally do that, you start to hear other people. You start to hear this conversation. You start to be a fly on a wall. And then slowly but steadily, you're going to take that one step. You're going to take that one step. And next thing you know, you are at the table with us. You are in our circle with us and having the juicy conversations. And so with that, I am going to invite you again to my Women's Weekend Renewal Retreat. There's only a couple more seats that are left. Listen, you guys, this thing is nothing short of power. There are folks who added to their development plan so that their jobs can have them come to this, because this is training on a whole new level. This is training for you so that not only do you leave with a clear vision, whether it's work, home, or life, not only do you leave with that clear vision, but you also leave with accountability. You also leave with ownership. You also leave with coaching one-on-one. You thought this was good? Imagine the juiciness of being in the room with people who are just going to push and push until you get on that journey. What is your journey looking like? How can we move the weeds and the distractions so that you can pull the people on the journey with you, let the people off the journey when you need to do your self-work? And just like Lola said today, is that sometimes you got to do this thing as a solo. So if you want to hear more from Lola, then I will have all of her information inside of the show notes. If you want to hear from me, lolitawalker.com, and just give them your website again.
My website is www.healblackjoy.com. HEAL blackjoy.com.
Oh my goodness. You guys have been such a pleasure today. Sandra says, yes, I am there. I need it. Yes, there is an amazing discount code. You're in my Facebook group, so I will make sure that I put that there. And then I want to recognize Soul. Soul said 8/18 is an emotional date for me. Healing is always at the core on this day. Alignment is present in this room, and she simply wants to say thank you. Today has been even more than I ever imagined. You know, when I talk to Lola on the phone, I'm like, oh yeah, we're aligned. This thing is going to be fire. But it's when you sit there, it's and the thing is that we didn't even need to prep. It's
Right.
like, show up, you know your craft. I'm good at what I do, and I'm going to pull it out of you, but I didn't even need to pull too hard because you say one thing and it's like, yes, 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 yes. Let's get these people on board online, because we owe the world us.
Yeah. Adding to that collective that you spoke about. Adding to that collective.
Yes, yes,
It's
yes.
so important for us to show up for ourselves so that we can show up for others, because guess what? There is someone out there that is tied to your healing.
Woo! It is so true.
It's not just about you. You stay self-full to get yourself together. But when you put on that oxygen mask on that plane, guys, that's going down, guess what? You're able to put on the mask of others. You're able to pull people along. As you say, instead of them being behind us, Lolita, they're right beside us coming along. That's how you do that.
Oh my gosh.
That's how we add to that collective.
It is. And I just want to thank you for being here. Just hold on one second. We have concluded yet another episode of Coaching, Cocktails, and Conversations, the podcast with Lolita E. Walker. Connect with me at lolitawalker.com for speaking, coaching, and my books, The Intersection of You and Change, and Can We Talk? Letters and poems to reclaim a bolder you. Listen, have you already grabbed your CC&C garb? Yes, we are coming with tumblers, stemless glasses, a journal, a hoodie, and don't forget the t-shirt. We are leaning all the way in. We also know that Coaching, Cocktails, and Conversations is a movement. Not only is it paraphernalia, not only is it this powerful podcast that you have right here in this right now, but it is a Zoom cast. It is a coaching community. It is a Facebook group. It is a Clubhouse group. Go ahead and lean into lolitawalker.com to see all things coaching, cocktails, and conversations. And next time, bring a friend. Invite them to like, to share, and to give that 5-star review. Cheers! I cannot wait to see you back around my kitchen table for coaching, cocktails, and conversations, the podcast with Lolita E. Walker.